here we go. The Palmetto Bowl. South Carolina at Clemson. Clemson, a 14.5-point favorite. It's a noon Eastern kick, and this game is a lot more interesting than it was a week ago. Last week, probably looked at this game and said, okay, cool. I mean, I'm all for rivalries. Both programs have been interesting this year. Well, then South Carolina went and hung 60-plus on Tennessee. A couple other things happened, and now you're saying not only is South Carolina a fascinating case study at the end of this year, also Clemson hanging around, riding at the very back of that Roy bus, and if they're a one-loss conference champ, maybe some other things swing their way. I'm just saying, they are very much so on the outskirts of playoff watch, but I think they're on playoff watch nonetheless. Crazier things have happened. So that's just it for Clemson. I mean, they're back in the picture, and there's definitely some stakes to be played for. Everyone left Clemson for dead, and here they are just hanging around. For South Carolina, Shane Beamer and company, I love me some Shane Beamer, man. Beamer ball, that culture is on fire. They're looking to double down on what they did last week, because everybody and their mother was saying, holy smokes, this is a new South Carolina than we're ever accustomed to seeing. Yeah, it is a new South Carolina, but is it? Because to actually be a new version of yourself, you have to do it more than once. Like, anybody can do a trick one time. Can you make that trick your habit and then eventually not have it be a trick anymore? It's just who you are. Is that who they are? We're going to find out in this game, because Clemson's going to be a really nice test for them. But excited to see what South Carolina brings to the table. Which Spencer Rattler do we see in this game? We have been extremely transparent about how we feel about Spencer Rattler. Tons of ability. And he put it on display against Tennessee. Threw for something like 6 touchdowns, over 400 yards. Like, passed out a clinic tape, got a T-shirt and a juice box as he left. Like, that was the kind of game that Spencer Rattler played against Tennessee. Do we see that same kind of performance from him? Or do we see the version against Florida, where he threw for like 150 yards, nothing much to write home about? The offense scored no points. It was like a fake punt that got him in the end zone. Two very different Spencer Rattlers. Now, I will say this. I think Spencer Rattler is very much so a better version of himself when he has more help, especially in the run game. Now, at the time of us being live right now, Marshawn Lloyd, Christian Beal-Smith are both listed as questionable. Didn't have them last week. You had Jaheim Bell, who is a tight end. Think about that for a second. You got a tight end playing running back. Now, Jaheim Bell is no run-of-the-mill tight end. Absolute dog carrying the football. Carried it 17 times last week for like 80-plus yards. We say it every single week with South Carolina, and we break down their games, but they have a rushing threshold. My estimation is that rushing threshold is right around 100 yards. Cross that 100-yard threshold, and Shane Beamer's like, I've never lost here at South Carolina when we do that. Last week was no exception. So Spencer Rattler, we need to see a version of him where he's on his game like he was last week, but at the same time, the run game needs to be that complement to him. Because so early in the year, we were saying, yeah, Spencer Rattler looks like his old self, where he's throwing picks and not really, making great decisions. But also remember, the offensive line did not do him any favors, and they were not running the football effectively. So it all fell on Spencer Rattler's shoulders, which was the exact thing we said at the beginning of the season, before they even played a game. We said it, and Shane Beamer said it. We can't ask him to be Superman. If you put it all on Spencer Rattler and just say, we better have the best version of you today, I think you're kind of rolling the dice there. So, which Spencer Rattler shows up? Tennessee Spencer Rattler or subpar 150 yards, a pick and a touchdown Spencer Rattler? That could be the difference. Second thing I'm looking at, kind of on the inverse of that for Clemson, how much is Clemson able to tee it up for DJ? We all thought about it during the year. It's kind of been a conversation that's ongoing throughout this season. Is DJ Uiagalelei, is he going to be, someone that keeps them from reaching their potential, or is he going to be that cog that allows this whole operation to keep on going forward? Well, he's the quarterback, so he's going to take the brunt of the criticism and the majority of the praise. Just the way it works out when you're the quarterback at a Power 5 school and a brand like Clemson. Now, when I say how much do they tee it up for him, we forget there's actually 10 other players on the field that need to help him, and there's 11 other players on the defense that need to help make his job easier as well. And against Notre Dame, that was not the case. So, for Clemson, a big thing that they do is running to set up the pass. Will Shipley, Phil Maffa are both dogs. Feed those guys, man. Let them eat. I want to see somewhere in the range of 100 to 150 yards rushing for Clemson. Because when you do that, South Carolina front starts to creep up. We say it all the time. Those safeties start to fill in run support, and then stuff opens up downfield. Can hit the tight end of the seam. Can get the ball to your playmakers in the slot. Like, that's the kind of reality that needs to be the case for Clemson. I'm not saying DJ Uyunglele can't just be the guy that you put it on his shoulders, because he actually did that against Wake Forest. People want to forget that, but he's actually shown multiple times he's a very solid college quarterback. Winning the Heisman Trophy? I mean, no, but he can be a guy that wins games for you. This is the kind of game where I think you want to have a little bit more of a family affair. On the defensive side of things, like I said, they got worked against Notre Dame. Can they create a short field for the offense? Can they hold up their end of the bargain? Take it a step further. What if it takes a second for the Clemson offense? What if they have a recalibration period? It wouldn't be the first time we've seen it. Is the defense able to hold it down and keep the game close and keep it, let's just say it's 10-10 and a half. Can the defense come out and get 2 stops, maybe 3 stops, and allow DJ to eventually get in rhythm, figure out a new game plan? I think that's crucial to watch for, because it could be that kind of scenario where Clemson takes a second to rev the engine and then put it in gear. So how much can you help DJ is really important, because he's shown when he has it teed up for him, he's pretty good about cashing in. Is he 100%? No. But you feel good about your chances when you have everything else around DJ set up for success. And running the football and playing good defense is, I think, the first 2 steps to allowing that offense to be successful. Here's the matchup I'm watching, though. South Carolina's wide receiving core in Clemson's secondary. Last week, I mean, I know the run game was working for South Carolina, but that receiving core ate, and they ate greedy against the Tennessee secondary with problems. Juice Wells had a $177, something like 11 catches. Like, you went to the Wells, you went to Juice Wells a couple times, man. You found your matchup, and you continued to exploit it. We say it a lot. This game's a 14.5-point favorite for Clemson. So if you want to talk about it on that regard, it would be an upset. Like, South Carolina pulling off an upset, quote-unquote, for the second week in a row would require that same kind of efficacy from one matchup. Is it Juice Wells? I don't know, because Clemson's secondary, they've been a lot better as of late, but we've seen from this program they have the potential to, I don't know if expose is the right word, but there's some plays to be had against the secondary. Can you get enough of them? Can you get enough to rev the engine and score some points and then put that pressure back on DJ Uyunglele? We say it a lot. You put pressure on offenses to do things they're not accustomed to doing. You say, DJ, we need you to throw 40 passes this game. I'm not saying he couldn't do it. Again, I will not count out DJ Uyunglele. I think he's shown us too many times that he is a good quarterback. Is he amazing? No, but I'm just saying if he throws it 40 times a game, that's advantage South Carolina, because that means, one, you've taken away the run game enough, or at least for a short enough period of time, to where your offense can score some points, and now Clemson's got to catch you. Now they're in a foot race and trying to keep up with you because Juice Wells went for 100, because Van went for 100, because Jaheim Bell's making his presence felt at tight end and at running back. That's the kind of game that South Carolina wants to play. Now, if that Clemson secondary rises to the occasion, like we've seen them do in the past as well, it's kind of a little bit of different flavors for different weeks. I think that could make them a lot more one-dimensional, because this front seven for Clemson is really good. Have they had a perfect year? No, nobody has. A lot of talent on that front seven. If they can play their game on the back end, that's going to free the front end up to really go ahead and work and get into hunting mode. So that's the story I'm watching for, because South Carolina's offensive line has had their issues, but the quick game gets going, everything kind of opens up. So that matchup between the secondary for Clemson, South Carolina receiving core, I think will have a big impact on this game. So here's our prediction for this game. Spencer Rattler went berserk last week. We picked against South Carolina last week, and we were dead wrong, man. I'll tell you what. Spencer Rattler, game of his life. That's my concern. Was that Spencer Rattler's game of his life last week? Is he going to regress back to the mean? I feel a little bit more comfortable saying that's going to be the case than he goes for 6 touchdowns and 400 yards again. So I think Spencer Rattler doesn't play poorly, but I think he kind of goes back to a more similar version of what we've seen in the past. I think DJ actually plays pretty well. I think they run the football effectively, play more balanced, which allows him to be freed up to make plays. And I think Clemson ends up winning this game 34-21. So South Carolina covers. I think Clemson ends up winning this game at home to finish out the regular season. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.